Growth equals happiness. If you are growing in your career, you're probably really happy with your career. If you're stagnant in your career, or if you're declining in your career, you're probably not that happy with it. Same goes with your marriage. If your marriage is growing and thriving and you're feeling more in love than ever, you're probably so happy with your marriage. And if your marriage is stagnant or on the decline, you're probably not that happy. So growth equals happiness, or this is the good mood revolution. Your good moods equal your growth or your progress in the different areas of your life. We don't just want life to be blah. We don't want it to be just okay. We want life to be amazing. And to do that, we are going to learn the 7 laws of lifetime growth. Let's rock. Welcome to the Good Mood Revolution. I'm your host, Matt O'Neill, and I've spent the last 15 years mastering the art of lasting happiness. Look, happiness isn't just a feeling, it is a skill, and it's a skill that you can learn and master. This show is your training ground. Let your Good Mood Revolution begin now. So last year, my happiness hit rock bottom. My stepdad lost his battle with cancer. My family was just reeling from this loss. It was really hard. We had Opa, his name's John, an Opa to my kids and to me. And Opa came over multiple times a week. We went to his house multiple times a week. They lived just a mile away. They were a bike ride from us. We would walk there. It was tough, and it was really tough with my mom. She was really struggling. She only lives a mile from us. This was her best friend. And we were just kind of wishing that he hadn't passed and that our life was still what it was. At the same time, my business lost $330,000 in cash in 4 months. We were so upside down. We were almost $100,000 a month upside down, where our expenses were almost $100,000 higher than what we were able to bring in revenue. And that was hard. And it's because the real estate market had changed. And I was just wishing that things would just be the way that they used to be. I was just clinging to this past where Opa was still here and real estate was what it was, and it wasn't what we actually had. And I found myself in this big slump. I wasn't happy. And it's because I was clinging to a past rather than creating a hopeful future. I was no longer thinking about a beautiful future. I was just saying things aren't as good today as they were a year ago. And I wish that the year ago would come back. Well, having that idea that I wish the past would come back, it doesn't help. It's not realistic. The past can't come back. We can't bring Opa back. We can talk about beautiful times we had, but it'll never be the same. And this is the thing, is that the past is gone. It's over. We can cherish it. We can learn lessons from it. We can grow from it, but the past can be our teacher, but it can't come back. Life is ever evolving. Life is ever changing. We seem to resist change. I certainly do. I don't want things to change. I want them to stay consistent. I want them to stay the way they've always been because I love the way they've always been. And yet, to resist change is to resist life itself. Life is constant change. So we can't resist change and we can't cling to the past. The only sane thing to do if we want to be happy is to dictate the future. We do this by choosing to continue to change and evolve and grow and become more every passing day. To pull myself out of the funk, I decided I finally would start to focus on my present and making it better than it had ever been. I was going to build a beautiful future and I was going to grow like I had never grown before. And as soon as I made this commitment, it was a shift to choose to grow again instead of clinging to a past that wasn't here. As soon as I chose to grow again, my happiness came back. I started to set goals for my health. I hired a personal trainer. I changed my food. I started to eat 170 grams of protein a day. I put on 10 pounds of muscle. I transformed my physical body. I was really happy with that. My physical body is growing. It's improving. I'm feeling good about it. I set goals as a dad. I said, I want to have deeper connection with my kids. I want to accept them more as they are. My relationships with my kids improved. I became really happy with those. I set goals with my marriage. I wanted to grow more close to Katie, have more fun. We decided we were going to go on dates. We implemented a weekly date night and we grew our marriage. And I became really happy with my marriage. And then I decided I'd set goals for my career. I was going to publish my book, sell 10,000 copies of this book. I was going to grow this podcast. I was going to make it one of the top podcasts in the world. And now Good Mood Revolution is the top 2% global podcast. The book is incredible. It's available for pre-order on Amazon. It's something I am so proud of, and it's so good. So I became happy again as I started to set these goals for my growth. There are 7 laws to lifetime growth. The lessons that come from in this podcast are from a book that I read by Dan Sullivan and Catherine Nomura called The Laws of Lifetime Growth. This book is awesome. I'm holding it here. Here's my actual notes. When I have a book that's really impactful to me, I take notes. And we're just going to go through these 7 laws of lifetime growth because the more you grow, the happier you will be. The first law, always make your future bigger than your past. I mean, this is exactly what I just told, the story I just told. My past was bigger than my future. I was clinging to a past. I said, I was so successful in the past. Our family was so great when Opa was still here. My past was bigger than my future. But the first law of lifetime growth and thus lifetime happiness is always make your future bigger than your past. No matter how great your past has been, your future can be bigger and better. So when we're winning and hitting goals, this can actually become a trap. The money we create, the comfort we create, the recognition of a brilliant past can overshadow our current purpose and our current sense of contribution or a big future. I've already had a really big past. My company was named the number 6 fastest growing company in the whole state of South Carolina. We were named the number 1 company to work for out of 470,000 small businesses in the state of South Carolina. I've had giant accomplishments, one after another after another. It's a really big past. Well, that's a trap. I've now got a very comfortable life. That's another trap. The trap is complacency. And when we become complacent, we're not happy. So we got to continue to grow. So we want to make growth the central theme and the central goal for our whole life. Your future is your property. Your future only exists in your mind. A bigger future includes anything you want to see that is somehow an improvement over what you have now. In order to have a bigger future, you must first believe that it's possible to have a bigger future, no matter what stage of life you're in or no matter what your circumstances are. This is what I was just saying. I had this giant company. I'm like, well, what else could I do? I mean, I've already accomplished more than I ever thought I could. And yet, I had to believe we could even have a bigger future than everything we'd achieved to that point. In my marriage, I could believe this myth that a lot of people say, that the best time of a marriage is the honeymoon period. And once that honeymoon phase is over, marriage declines. Certainly after 15 years together, like my wife and I have been together, it's going to be worse than it was the first year, right? Well, no, not if I believe that my future with Katie can be even better than my past with Katie. And that's my belief, is that as we go through trials, as we go through life, as we face things together, I get even more admiration for the woman she is. We get even closer for the things we've been through, and our love and our bonds actually improve over time. So to make your future bigger than your past, ask yourself this question. If everything you've done so far is just the beginning, what's next? Take some time to ponder that. Perhaps grab a pen and a paper and just answer this question. If everything you've done so far in your life is just the beginning, what's next for you? List it out. And then hire some coaches, buy some books, learn some new things, get more education, and you're going to be so happy you've continued to grow.
The wait is finally over. The Good Mood Revolution book is officially available for pre-order on Amazon today. You can go to Amazon and look for Good Mood Revolution book. And in this book, you're going to find the 8 bad moods that get in the way of your happiness. You're going to learn strategies on how to overcome each of these 8 negative thoughts. They're all lies anyway. And then what the thought patterns are that make us happy every single day. You're also going to learn strategies that can make you really feel fulfilled in your life and make other people around you feel fulfilled as well. So go on Amazon, look for Good Mood Revolution book, and order yours today.
Law number 2 of growth. Always make your learning greater than your experience. The world can make us feel really weary, tired. As the longer we live, the more challenges we face, and these challenges we find are never ending. So this can make us tired and burned out and just world weary. But if you always transform your experiences and challenges into learnings, you will never feel world weary, and you'll never feel disadvantaged from your past. I was definitely feeling world weary from the loss of Opa and from the loss of the income. And I just didn't know if I had the strength to set new goals and do it all over again. But here's the thing is that life takes constant maintenance and energy. If you look at a building, like if you don't continue to upkeep and maintain a building, it will completely become run down within 50 years. I saw a documentary about Chernobyl where people haven't touched this town in I think 50 years, and trees are growing up through the middle of every building. So just to live life takes so much energy and maintenance. Life takes energy. It just does. But this, every time we have a setback, it takes energy too, but so does just maintaining the status quo. So when we have a setback, we can actually learn from it and become better because of it. And then instead of it being something that this energy is draining us, it actually is energy that's uplifting us. So we ask a question, we could say, what did I learn from this experience? How am I better because of it? When I lost $330,000 in 4 months last year, I asked myself, what did I learn from this? Well, shoot, I learned a ton about business. I learned that sometimes I can see the future and I need to make changes faster. And I also learned I have a tremendous amount of resilience, that even when I'm facing a ridiculously hard challenge, I have the ability to pray, get guidance, make decisions, and turn the ship around, which is what we did. And so I learned greater self-confidence. So make your learnings greater than your experience, and you will continue to grow and you won't become world weary. Law number 3. Always make your performance greater than your applause. As you increase your performance, you're going to receive greater applause from an expanding audience. The temptation will be to keep repeating what got you the applause rather than moving on to something new and better and different. You must commit to continually surpassing everything you've ever done before. Don't just keep doing the same thing because people applaud you for it or because you're good at it. If you do, you're going to stop growing. And if you stop growing, you're stuck doing the same thing. And when you're stuck doing the same thing and you're not growing, your happiness suffers, and then your contribution suffers. So what we want to do is we want to make our performance greater than the applause we get. We want to focus on becoming better and better and better rather than focusing on how much are people going to like it. Each speech you give, each project you do, decide you're going to give it your very best performance that you've ever done, like a performance of a lifetime. Focus on giving the best possible experience you could. Look, when this podcast started out, less than 100 people would listen every week. It wasn't a top podcast, but I focused on getting better and doing the best I could for those 100 people that showed up. And as I gave my best, I felt my best because my performance is what made me feel good about myself, not if thousands of people were listening. And so we never want to expect applause. We never want to expect recognition because this can create entitlement. What we want to do is we want to say, I don't expect any applause, but I'm going to give the very best I've got today because what makes me happy is giving my very best. And here's a side benefit. When we give our very best, people end up applauding us. And, this podcast grew into the top 2% podcast. It's continuing to grow, but I'm continuing to improve my performance. I hired a coach for this podcast. I hired somebody that's giving me feedback and helping me improve. I'm putting more effort, more time, more energy into planning each episode than I ever have. Because it's not about the applause, not about the growth of the podcast. It's about the joy of the performance, about becoming the best I can be at this task. And so that's one of the laws of lifetime growth. Law number 4 of lifetime growth. It's one of my favorites. And we're just doing 7 laws, but this is 4 of 7. Always make your gratitude greater than your success. You can achieve everything you always wanted and still not be happy. That was me. I had achieved more than I ever wanted. I had surpassed everything my dream life could possibly be, and I still wasn't happy. This happens when we think we've arrived and we stop growing. As I said at the beginning, happiness isn't getting everything you always wanted. Happiness is growth and progress. So when we achieve everything we ever wanted, it actually could be anti-happiness because we could think that we've arrived, we've made it, we finally got to some imaginary destination point of this amount of wealth or this amount of security or this amount of family or whatever the thing is that we think we need to arrive. And then we stop growing and then we're not happy. I've talked to a lot of people who retired around the age of 40. They created so much success through their 30s that they decided, I'll retire and I'll play golf. These young men who retired around the age of 40 or 35, even some of them I've met, they said, yeah, that lasted for a year, maybe 2. And I became extremely unhappy and I had to go and do something else. And then my happiness came back. And this is the thing is when we stop growing, we stop becoming happy. So living a truly successful life is a matter of constantly growing. The more successful you become, the more important it is to practice gratitude. We can foster gratitude by knowing that we really don't do anything on our own. All of your success is due to the contributions of thousands of others. Like, are you growing your own food? No. Are you designing your own car? No. Are you drilling for your own gasoline to get you to where you need to go? No. Did you design the airplane that took you to the conference where you learned? No. Like, you are supported by thousands of people every single day. You're actually not doing anything on your own. So having gratitude for all of these forces and for God, like who created the sun that gives heat to the world? Who created your body? Who's healing your cuts? Right? Like there's a force greater than you. It's the universe, whatever you want to call it. There's a force greater than you. And as you express gratitude to this force and to all of the countless people and things that are supporting you, that makes you happy and you continue to grow. What doesn't help you grow is when you don't give gratitude. You know, if you take all the credit, that isolates you from your team. What you actually want to do is you want to give your team all the credit. You want to give them all the gratitude. This gratitude works to eliminate isolation. It eliminates egotism. It eliminates arrogance. All of these destroy goodwill, and they also destroy your happiness. So, the fourth law, make your gratitude greater than your success.
Are you looking to take your happiness to another level? If you're looking to be more successful, we need to be happier because success and happiness go hand in hand. But sometimes we get stuck in thought patterns we don't even know are holding us back. And we need a coach or a mentor to see things we can't see with our own eyes. I've had coaches and mentors help me access levels of happiness I couldn't have achieved without them. I'm now offering that same service to a small, select number of people. If you think one-on-one coaching could elevate your happiness, go to mattoneil.com and click the coaching tab to learn more. I look forward to talking with you.
Law number 5 of lifetime growth. Always make your enjoyment greater than your effort. This is one I'm focusing on right now. I just ordered a sign for my office, my real estate company. It says, "We have fun today." And it's a big sign, and I'm hanging it up on the wall right in the lobby when we walk in. We'll all see this sign that says, "We have fun today." Why do I need to put a sign on the wall that says, "We have fun today"? Because sometimes I forget law number 5 and I make my effort greater than my enjoyment. But if we want to continue to grow, we need to make our enjoyment greater than our effort. Finding a way to bring enjoyment into work engages creativity. It gives us a sense that we are in control rather than being oppressed by the task. We want to approach life as a game with growth as the objective. This ensures that we're going to enjoy the adventure. So just live with a spirit of fun. Make your enjoyment greater than your effort. Often people get trapped doing what they're really good at, but not passionate about. We do these non-enjoyment activities at the expense of doing what would offer the greatest opportunities for growth and thus a unique contribution that we could make to the world. So if you're doing things because you're good at them but not passionate about it, consider that you're actually holding the world back from what could be an even greater contribution. Because if you were super passionate about what you were doing, you would go even 100% more in, 200% in, because your passion and your creativity would create something unique that only you could make. Rather than just something that you're just doing because you're good at without passion, you're actually limiting the world from what you could actually be doing. So do what you love to do and find ways to inject fun into what you do. If you find that your effort is greater than your enjoyment, consider hiring somebody. You could hire a remote team member. I have people that work with our companies from overseas that we just love to work with. And you could hire someone to do the tasks that you don't love anymore. If you find yourself not enjoying a task, another thing you can do is you can ask yourself this question: what can I do to make this task a more enjoyable experience? I live by this truth. I don't have to sacrifice my enjoyment for anything. Anytime I feel like I'm sacrificing my enjoyment, I stop and I say, I don't have to not have fun doing this. I can totally have fun doing hard things. I just did this morning. I went to the gym with Adam Roach. We lifted weights. It was so hard and it was so fun. So really hard things can be really enjoyable things too. So when you're at work, you don't have to suffer through something and not enjoy it because you think that no pain, no gain. That's a myth. So if you're ever suffering through something, stop, live by this. I do. Say, I don't have to sacrifice my joy here. If I want to get this task done, sometimes we don't even have to do the task. We could say, do I even need to do this task that I'm not enjoying? Sometimes the answer is no, I don't need to do it. But if you choose to do it, then you say, okay, I'm going to choose to do this. How could I do this and enjoy the experience of doing it? And then let your creativity run wild. You know, perhaps you could make that phone call that you wanted to make while you're walking through the woods. That would be super enjoyable. You could get outside, go by the water. You could go sit by the water and make that phone call and enjoy nature And your day might actually get better while you make that phone call rather than suffer through the phone call that you think you have to suffer through. So, law number 5 of lifetime growth, always make your enjoyment greater than your effort. Law number 6, and this is 6 of 7, so we're almost to the end of the laws of lifetime growth. And this is one of my favorite words. I write about it in the Good Mood Revolution book. It's confidence. Always make your confidence greater than your comfort. And I'm going to read from some of my notes here that I wrote in the book. Many successful people start out as confident risk takers and dreamers. But after achieving success, they find themselves seeking security and comfort. Seeking security and comfort erodes confidence and stops our growth. Treat any increase in comfort only as a temporary stage for establishing bigger goals, and your confidence will always be higher than your comfort. As you set a new big goal, your confidence about being able to achieve those big goals increases. Setting big goals makes your confidence bigger than your fear. In the comfort trap, life starts to feel routine, boring, and you lose a sense of meaning and excitement that you once had. We can end up selling out our dreams in exchange for our comfort. But the only way to escape the comfort trap is to take on a new challenge and to build your confidence. Always take on new, big challenges, and even if you don't succeed at your new goal, you can still grow just as much by transforming the experience into lessons for the next challenge. I think that was rule number 3. Always make your learning greater than your experience. After a while, you will become less fearful of making big mistakes. Your biggest improvements and breakthroughs typically come from your biggest mistakes because of the intense focus to grow. Always leave comfort behind to do big things that force you to grow new capabilities and new confidence. Making confidence and growth greater than comfort is a no-lose proposition. So number 6, I totally found myself doing this. This, again, the story to start out. I had achieved so much in my business that I had all this comfort. And I wasn't a big risk taker anymore. I'm like, I got a great life. I've got this great comfort. And yet my happiness was dwindling because I wasn't setting these new big goals and my confidence was suffering. I was kind of like going for security and comfort rather than this big new future that was exciting and would actually bring me happiness. So rule number 6 is a really important law. Always make your confidence greater than your comfort. All right, our last law of lifetime growth, number 7. Always make your questions bigger than your answers. All growth lies in the territory of the unknown. We fear the unknown, right? We want things to be secure and certain. We don't want them to be unknown. But what we already know is the past. What we have yet to discover is the future. So always make your questions bigger than your answers, and you'll keep drawing yourself into a bigger future. There is nothing more powerful than a question. The mind cannot ignore a question. The question remains in the mind, provoking new thoughts. And answers are, on the other hand, are closed-ended. Questions are not closed-ended, they're open-ended. A really great question can keep you thinking and growing for a lifetime. Here's a couple great questions. How far could I go? Or another way to say that is, I wonder how far I could go. This is a great question to keep asking for your whole life. How far could you go? And you will always be rewarding yourself with happiness and inspiration as you ask this. No matter how far you go, you continue to say, but how far could I go? How much further could I go? How big could I make this? There's really no end in sight as long as you keep asking this question. A question actively leads us out of the past and into a bigger future. Always be open to the possibility that your understanding has some flaws in it. Questions make us humble. We realize that no matter how bright we are, we will never have the definitive view on anything. There's always a greater depth to what we think we know. The unknown can be a source of excitement and possibility for growth, not fear. So make your questions bigger than your answers. When we focus on that we know the answers, our growth stops. We already know everything. It's actually one of the most difficult things when I'm trying to coach somebody who already knows everything. And I'm like, anytime I suggest something, they're like, I already know that. And I think, well, if you knew it, you would be doing it, but you're not doing it. So intellectually, you may say you know it, but you don't actually know it, or else you'd be doing it. So the best way to continue to grow is to continue to make our questions bigger than our answers, and to say, well, what if I don't fully know this? What if there's more to know about this? What if I could actually never fully know this? How much more could I grow in this? And then we become humble and open, and then we grow because we're humble and we're open and we don't already know everything, and our questions are bigger than our answers. And as we grow, we are happy. And this brings us all back to it. The future is your property. Your future is your property. The bigger you make your future, the happier you will be. We've learned 7 goals of lifetime growth. I'm going to go back through the seven laws of lifetime growth just as a summary. Law 1, always make your future bigger than your past. Law 2, always make your learning greater than your experience. Law 3, always make your performance greater than your applause. Law 4, always make your gratitude greater than your success. Law 5, always make your enjoyment greater than your effort. Law 6, always make your confidence greater than your comfort. And Law 7, always make your questions bigger than your answers. I want your future to be the biggest, best, most bright, most amazing future you can possibly make it. As you set your sights on a giant future, let that excite you. Grow yourself, become more, and never, ever, ever stop growing. I had a chance to meet John Maxwell last year at Adam Roach's I Love Coaching Summit. John is in the twilight years of his life. I don't know his exact age. Late 70s is my best guess. And he said he is reading more now and setting bigger goals to write more books and meeting new people and continuing to grow and grow and grow. And I thought, that is inspiring. I want to be in my late 70s. I want to be in my 80s. I want to be in my 90s saying, how much more could I grow? How much more could I become? And maybe it's in new ways. Maybe my mind wouldn't be as sharp at age 90 as it is now at age 43, but maybe my understanding, my wisdom, my connection with God could be greater. And I could be working on growing in different ways, growing more compassionate, more loving, more present. We can always be growing. And as we grow, we're happy. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode with Matt O'Neill.